this jewelry brand is making hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars more, but right now they're actually losing potential revenue. I'm going to be showing you exactly what they could be doing better and how you can implement that into your own business, as well as outline whether you are making the same mistakes, because you probably are. So I'm going to go into detail of exactly what the main drivers of their revenue are, what they should be, and exactly how to set them up so that you do not go and make the same mistakes. So let's get into their backend. All right, so as we open up their backend, we can see that they're actually making $327,000 every single month, which in theory sounds good until you realize that they're actually losing over 50,000 euros or pounds every single month. And the reason for that is because they don't have the right retention system. This happens a lot with high AOV and jewelry brands in general. Accessory brands, clothing brands, you name it, they all have the same issue. They are capitalizing for new customers and new traffic, but they have no system or working and reliable system in place for returning traffic. So let's take a look at some details. If we go take a look at the historic 12 months, we can see that they only got email marketing around October, which means they were losing a lot more. So that's great to know that they've recovered some, with a lot of that coming from their flows. Now, what's interesting is for high AOV brands, generally we see that the highest revenue generating functionality for them is usually actually the flows. So that's something that we see often. And then if we go take a look at their the scaling, so they have scale, they've obviously got really good deliverability, really good open rates, and they're sending to around 77,000 people. So it's all looks okay. It looks decent. But I think that what's really happening is they're not getting as much as they could out of different elements. So if we take a look at what those elements could be, let's go take a look at their sign-up form. So sign-up form, they're getting about 13% over here for their wait list, and then join the rewards program. Now, one of the biggest issues here is you never want to promote a rewards program because people don't really want rewards if they are not even bought into the brand. And so a very quick fix here would be to do a pop-up form that gives them an offer that incentivizes them to actually sign up. And so this looks great in theory, but again, only 4.2% of people have actually pretty much submitted that. And if we really just wanted, double that, we just need an 8.2% conversion, and we're going to get 24,000 people into the list every single month instead of just 12,000 people. So that is a quick room for improvement. The way that we would do that is a pop-up form that covers the whole page. They choose what they're interested in, whether it is necklaces, rings, or bracelets, or something else. And then we're going to send them a welcome flow catered to that specifically. So that would be the main point of focus. Now let's take a look at the campaign, since that is driving a lot of revenue. In the last 30 days, we can see that they have done decent revenue. But what's interesting is they're not selling nearly enough. I know that it sounds interesting and some people have an opposing belief, but I think that you should be sending 3 to 4 times per week minimum. If you're just starting out, very different, just send once or twice a week. But this brand is not just starting out. They have a very clear audience base with different segments. They're not targeting different segments. They're consistently sending to the same people. And that's an issue. That's why they're not getting as many results as they could, why they don't have a different strategy. And then if we take a look at how their structure looks, let's take a look here. So overall, structure is all right. Let's actually just open one up. So let's go here. Perfect. So this one is still standing, I believe. So this one, it's not the greatest design. They have a call to action that kind of blends in with the background. That's going to cost them a lot. And then they show very specific. So this is fine. I think that it is all right. But I do think that some improvements could be made. It could be simpler. It could be a way more engaging design, a little bit higher quality. They should probably have a few more reviews and everything in place. And then, yeah, I think that this in general is not the greatest. And ideally, they should be showing categories. But because it's Easter related, showing those specific products is fine. Now, if we take a look at the other campaigns again, I think that number one, they could just be sending a lot more. And they could be sending to different segments. So I'll get to that part just now. And if we take a look, so here's another different send. Take spring with you. This is a decent performing campaign. But I think that we could have gotten more. And here's a very clear reason. In the first 5 seconds, considering that most of their users are going to be mobile users, difficult to read this, difficult to get an idea of what this is actually about. And this call to action should be higher up in the top fold. This section I actually really like. I think it showcases the product really, really well. But the issue being that they're focusing so specifically on certain products, and they won't appeal to everyone. So I think they should do a lot more broader sense where it shows bestsellers and it should show categories. So here I like this because it is very spring related, and I think that this is generally really good. But again, it's not targeting very specific segments. I think that it is not doing the best job of building trust with the audience. There's just a few design elements that would make a lot of improvements, but overall not terrible. Then let's take a look at their segments, because I think this is going to be the missing piece. The campaigns are doing fine, but it's probably who they're selling to. And if you're in this boat of not really understanding, number one, where you can get more revenue out of, and number two, whether you can be getting more revenue, the best way to tell is to make sure that you are looking at your attributed revenue, number one. If it's under 30%, it's a great indicator. But number two, take a look at where the attribution is coming from. If it's from your campaigns and that's generating a lot, try and figure out how you can get it to generate more. Are you sending enough? Are you sending it to the right people? It's just very simple ways to tell. So with them, let's do a few segments, and I'm going to do something very specific. So let's say these are the ones that I like to do, engaged 150. I think that they're getting really good open rates, and so we can kind of spread this out a little bit more. Let's do open email is at least 3 in the last 150 days. Let's take a look at what this populates. So 83,000 people. We've already extended their list far beyond the 43% that they had originally. So that is a big difference. So let's go do that, and then let's do this. Non-buyers. This is going to tell us a lot about their audience and whether they are ordering or not. 0 times. Because what this is going to tell us is how many of the people in their audience, and it's actually a significant amount, it is only 1/3 of their audiences actually placed an order. So 54,000 out of the 80,000 people have not placed an order. So these are people that we need to be sending very different messaging compared to our repeat buyers. And what we would want to do is we want to understand who our repeat buyers are and what they're buying frequently together, so that we can start cross-selling and upselling that. So frequent buyers, what we're going to do is we're going to do place an order is at least 2 over all time. Perfect. 32,000 people. So 32,000 people are repeat buyers. That's perfect. That is a huge segment that we should never really send sales to, but we should understand what they're buying together and how and what they found valuable within the company. So this one, what we want to do is I want to understand how many people purchased at least once and see how this is at least once or all time. Okay, so now this is where the trick comes in. This is what so many brands get incredibly wrong, is they are sending to far too few people. If we take a look at their segments, they've just pretty much been sending to the same old people, and even then it's been way less. So they've been sending to about 48,000 people on average, whereas they could be sending to 163,000 people here and there because their deliverability allows for it. So let's just double check that, but based on their metrics, I don't see any issue with their deliverability. So let's go take a look at how their deliverability score is. So they're sitting at 75. That is really good. Obviously, we don't want to damage that. We want to maintain it. But we can also see what is damaging the deliverability. And something went wrong with this one. They were sending incorrectly here. And we can see that sometimes they get really high unsubscribe rates from their welcome series. And that's probably because their targeting is a little bit off. So we want to pay attention to this. I would make adjustments to this, and I would make adjustments to this campaign and never do that again. But for the most part, their deliverability score is pretty decent. We can obviously recover that, and I think that's something they could be doing is plain text emails, a little bit of a mixture to their super engaged customers. So those people that have opened an email at least 3 times in like the last 30 days. We can consistently send them very personalized messaging to maintain our deliverability. We also want to make sure that we're searching up our sender name, that we're doing a few things, not too heavy on the emails to the frequent customers. But what we should be doing is we should go back to the segmentation. We should broaden our sending so that we can reach more people. Since we have proven deliverability, we want to get in front of more people. So this is perfect. I think that we should include sends to these people and our engaged 150. That's who we should be sending to for the most part. Then the other side of it is that we probably have a huge portion of people that have abandoned and never placed an order. So let's go take a look at that. So abandonments, let's go do that. And what we're going to do is add it to cart at least once of all time, or someone has done. Checkout started at least once. Let's actually say in the last 120 days. In the last 120 days. So 64,000 people place order 0 times in the last 120 days. So these are people that made some kind of high intent move but abandoned. So 13,000 people could have potentially purchased, but they didn't. And so very easily, this tells me that there's a gap in the flows. All right, so now that we understand their abandonments, I want to go take a look at their flows, because this is going to indicate a lot of missing gaps and where they can easily improve revenue. So let's go to their flows, and what I want to do is I want to filter by the 1st of Feb until the 24th of March, which is where we're at right now. So just over, a 1 month period. And so we want to see their best performing versus least performing. So I do already see a few gaps of improvement. If they're making an average of, say, $327,000 a month in total revenue, then this should be a lot higher just in terms of attribution. And this is just based on benchmark numbers that I'm used to. It's not something that you would probably know. But if I take a look at the welcome flow, let's go see what's actually happening here. So they do split this off into whether someone has placed an order at least once over all time, which is just all right. They don't really have any filters here. And then let's take a look. So has placed an order at least once. So these are people that are non-buyers. So they're getting this first email and it gets really good open rates, really good click rates, but then the actual placed order rate is a little bit lower than what it should be. The benchmark for this should be a little bit higher, usually around the 6% mark minimum. So while this loads, let's take a look at what is happening there. And then the overall structure, very simply, the structure is just incorrect. This time delay needs to be way less. I think this needs to rather go about a day later. And generally, you want to split test whether you send it at a specific time or not. You want to test this because let's say that your audience is primarily shopping in the evening. And you decide to send it in midday when they're in the middle of the work shift. It's not going to really work that way. So you want to be very careful with who you send it to and how you send it. Then place an order at least once and starting the flow. They get like another additional, but this is not performing at all. So again, I would split test this being an image based versus a plain text email to get higher performance. I would have the call to action way higher up. I would use a higher quality image, higher quality email in general. And then I would show categories of products instead of nothing at all. I want to do the thinking for them. So what we want to prioritize in our first welcome email, which so many brands get wrong, is we want to make sure that we're doing the thinking for them. Number one, we want to make sure they can trust us by including reviews. Number two, we want to make sure that we make it as simple as possible for them. So we want this to be really high quality with a call to action above the fold. Number three, most importantly, we want to do the thinking for them and reduce friction by showing them category section, and instead of, just showing them some random BS that they don't care about. So with this, this is fine because it does reinstate things, but this should ideally be a second email, not in the first one. The first one needs to be simple. Just simply needs to reiterate the welcome offer that they have, number one. Number two, we want to make sure that they're actually targeting the category section, that we speak about the category section. And number three, we're talking about reviews and rebuilding trust. Then we want to wait only a day. 3 days is a long time before people lose interest. And then again, a day. Now, in general, this is an incorrect structure. Number one, the first email needs to be simple, straightforward, show their code. Number two, we want it to be a plain text, a little bit different, a little bit more personal, show a bit more transparency. Number three, we want it to be a reminder email tied in with a little bit more about the brand. So this is where you want to do the us versus them, where you show a little bit more of the transparency, who's behind the brand, etc., etc. And then last email, you want it to be a message from the founder so that they buy into the brand because they're not buying into the products at that point. So you want to make sure that they feel a little bit more of a tie to the brand. So all of this, it's okay. And theoretically, you should actually filter them out of the welcome flow if they place an order because you want them to go into the post-purchase flow. And you want to prioritize that because that's what's going to increase your AOV and your returning customer rate. But if we take a look, they don't actually have a post-purchase flow, at least not one that's live. So that is a huge focus point that I would prioritize if I were to work with this brand, is I would want to make sure that I prioritize a post-purchase to increase their AOV, get those one-time customers that we saw in that segment to come and repeat purchase. So 163,000 people have purchased from us. We want it to be 163,000 returning customers, not just one-time purchases. Best way to do that is show them the post-purchase once they actually filter through the welcome flow. So that is the welcome flow. Now let's take a look at the cart abandonment. The cart abandonment, and let's take a look. So allow re-entry, place order, checkout. So this is correct. The structure is all good. And let's take a look. So ideally, what most brands get wrong is they send too few emails here. You would be surprised by how much revenue is recaptured later on. So one of the main things to do that I would recommend is absolutely just increasing this. I would add another additional 1 or 2 emails. And so let's go take a look at what's being sent here. So this is a little bit too simple. Simple is great for this case, but the issue with this in, assuming that it's populating their product that they looked at, one thing that is a huge issue here is, number one, there's no actual visual of anything. We need to include that. We've split tested this, it performs best. Number two, the continue my sparkle journey, there's no urgency here. And so what they should do is they should change this to, hey, your ring is almost ready to ship, or your product is almost ready to ship. Get them to buy in emotionally. Call to action needs to reflect that. Then we actually need to talk about pain points. We need to filter in their pain points, because if someone added to cart and left, or started checkout and left, there are specific pain points. And I talk about this a lot. What they should be doing is they should actually be sending a, hey, this is why you should trust us. This is why we're better. So kind of an us versus them section. I've done a separate video about this, but they need to do an us versus them, show reviews, and show different sections within this email that will make a bigger difference to the pain points. Then what needs to happen in email 2 is they need to then introduce some kind of offer. This needs to be different to the welcome offer. So this ideally would be $1 off, because the welcome offer is a percentage off. So this needs to be $1 off, or it needs to be a free gift, or it needs to be free shipping, whatever it is. And this one needs to talk about more pain points, shipping costs, shipping times. It needs to show more reviews. It needs to show real people using the products. And again, probably an us versus them. So you want to continually kind of reiterate this value that you have and target pain points. So they should have 2 more emails, and they should get way more urgent as time goes on. Ideally, a last email that says, hey, you only have 3 hours left. You also need to split test the plain text versus image based with all of these emails, because you'd be surprised. Plain text can work really, really well because it seems personal. So that is the cart abandonment. Let's see their checkout abandonment. So checkout abandonment is not producing much at all. I think that one of the reasons is because of the time delay. I think that this needs to be a longer time delay. I'm just going to refresh this because it's populating weirdly. But I think that this needs to be a shorter time delay instead of an hour. They are getting decent place order rates on this one as opposed to the last one. And I think that simple changes could probably fix this. Same thing that I mentioned for the cart abandonment. Right now, they are actually causing an issue because a lot of their customers are going to be deterred and they're not going to place an order because they're now getting confused. Now they have to consider the item that they left behind, and earrings and rings and necklaces and bracelets. You don't want to do that. You never want to show them products at the checkout abandonment. They know what they want. They went that far. They know what they want. It's not an issue of them not being sure. They show off what they want. They just, number one, don't trust you. Number two, don't know how long it's going to take to get to them. And number three, are not happy about shipping time. So you want to make sure you're countering all of that. So ideally, this should say, hey, your order is almost ready to ship. Just keep in mind, we're shipping 3 to 5 business days. We're going to throw in a free shipping offer and blah, blah, blah. So all of that absolutely needs to be mentioned. So free UK shipping is a great mention to have higher up. They should have a review section, and then they should just show the product that they left behind. There should be no distractions in this. Same kind of structure as the cart abandonment, just with mostly different timing and different pain points. So those are the main things. They need a post-purchase. They need to target their different customers. They need to send more. If I were, if there were money on the line, I had to give up my liver to make sure that this worked, I would make sure that, number one, I'm sending more frequently. Number two, I'm sending plain text emails alongside everything else and maybe a newsletter. Number three, I'm sending to different audiences, those different segments that I created. I would extend that to the 163,000 list that we have. Number four, I would adjust all of the flows. I would make sure they have the correct setup and the timing. If I really had to pick one flow to prioritize, it would be the welcome flow because that is really costing them the most. And then above and beyond, I would just make sure I maintain their deliverability. But it's that simple. Simple formula, 5 steps to implement that you can as well to make sure you generate more revenue. And if you are looking for a brand to come in, do an audit of your account, and come in and fulfill the work for you, then go down below and book in a call with my team. We'd be happy to speak to you. And, we help e-commerce brands. We've helped tons of brands make countless millions of dollars. So go down below, book in that call, and I'll see you in the next one.